All right, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and we're back on my 1991 FXRS build. I got everything for the front end, so I think that's what we're going to tackle in this video. We're just going to kind of get everything together and assembled, maybe on the bike, I don't know, we'll see. But at least get the forks built. But real quick, I want to show you guys one thing. On the last episode, I kind of mentioned the little flare-up I had, and this is what I was talking about. It's a company called Invisivin, and they make these for different bikes. Obviously, this one is for FXR and Sportsters. Basically what that means is, I know like on some of the dynos, there's like a step here, tube diameters are different, bigger, coverage that it needs, obviously is different. So in my situation, I reached out to him, I said, kind of what was the measurements of the FXR one? He told me 11 inches, which was perfect because from the top of the super glue to the bottom of the sticker was about 10 and a half, I think is what the measurement came into. So we're gonna put this on the bike real quick and I'm gonna see what I think of it. So I think we'll just kind of open it up. Got some little felt on there so it doesn't scratch the frame up. But I guess all you're supposed to do, bada bing. I think I'm gonna roll with that. I don't think it looks too bad. I mean, obviously you can tell there's something there, but it's just as clean as the rest of the frame. So I'm good with it. Like I said, I don't know what it was, but for some reason I just really wanted to stick with the original paint on this. I just think it's kind of cool that the bike was as clean as it was when I got it. And there was no need to really disrupt this powder other than the fact that that had that little bit of super glue. So also had like a little mark over here, and I bought this little piece to kind of cover it up. Someone had something zip tied there when they had that aftermarket oil cooler. So that'll hold my clutch cable. It'll cover up that little spot. This covers up that spot. We're back in business. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about the front end. So to kind of show you real quick all the pieces that I've gotten, I got obviously the RaceTech setup. If you go on RaceTech's website, you can type in different weights and stuff like that, and they'll tell you kind of what spring rating you need. I've got the Drag Specialty, the full rebuild kit, Speed Merchant adjusters. These are those dampening rods I was waiting on. These are just some stock length OEM kind of replacement dampening rods for the 39 mil. And these are 2-over front tubes. So show you the little part number if it zooms in. But these hard chrome from Drag Specialty, I think they measured at like 26.8 or something along those lines. So it should just be just a little over 2 inches additional from where I'm at stock. And then get that out of the way. I got a set of OEM 99 and down fork tubes that I had obviously Rick, our local polisher, polish those up for me. So this would be the right side leg. And then, of course, the other side. And then I just kind of hand polished the triple tree myself. So we'll put that back in the bike. As you see, that's off and the headlight bucket's off. So off camera, I did finally get the headlight bucket all depinned. This kind of shows you what I was talking about with like the different letters and numbers, everything. So I know where it goes. I took pictures. Obviously, I have the owner's manual. That should give me some insight as well. And then the plastic that goes on there has all these codes written out on it. So everything should be good to go there. I guess real quick, one of the other things that I purchased that I forgot to mention was through Harley, I got the OEM chrome dust caps. These are the little caps that kind of hold the dampener rods in. I picked those up. And of course the top out spring that connects to the dampener rod. So all these can still be purchased through Harley. You'll need, if you're not disassembling your original front end, you'll need all these pieces as well. So I got everything kind of laid out just one by one. These new dampener rods come with brand new bushings on here. So I'm not going to probably use these right here. The dampener rod also came with a new bottom bolt. So I kind of like this one a little better than this chrome smaller head one. So I'm probably not going to use that. Like I said, that's the genuine Harley piece there. Little seal. The bushings that go on the fork tube. Of course, my emulator. Spacers, all that sort of stuff. First thing that I got to do according to the instructions through RaceTech is I actually have to drill the dampener rods. So as you can see, you got to make an additional hole there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little punch. I'm going to drill kind of a pilot hole, and then we'll take my step bit, get it towards that size here and across the way. Because like I said, it's telling me that I need 6 holes altogether, and that's what we're going to do. So, all right. We're going to try this again. The first fork, I did get it done last night. Unfortunately, I don't think I was explaining it well because I was kind of running into a couple little issues that was kind of irritating. I don't know, all kinds of little things. But I got everything sorted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a take 2 on assembling a fork. So like I said, this one's done, but I'm going to go through it and kind of better explain exactly what it takes to do it correctly because I know for a fact with like the little frustrations I was having and things kind of hanging up and not sliding as well as they should and taking it apart 2 or 3 times to kind of clean everything perfectly. That's another thing. These tubes came super, super nasty. And unfortunately, I don't have a parts cleaner. So what I ended up having to do is use kind of like a rifle cleaner for firearm and using the longer rods and stuff and cleaning out the tubes. Because, man, just everything was just very, very... I mean, like these dampener rods, just everything's super, super nasty. So whatever you do, make sure you clean everything very well. But after I took this apart, re-cleaned it, did all that kind of stuff, realized that maybe I was kind of going a little ahead of myself. The second one will go much smoother. So I'm going to set you guys up again, and we're going to work on the second leg. Also, I had to buy another 3/4 inch PVC pipe. Reason being is the one that they gave me with the RaceTech kit wasn't enough for a 2-inch over front end, so I had to use about 3/4 of it for the other fork, and then I needed, you know, about 2 inches or so more for the new fork, and it just is what it is. Just like with the last one, this is our fork dampener rod. According to RaceTech, what we need to do is we need to have 6 holes similar to what's in here already. And like I was saying earlier, I don't know if you can tell, if you can even see it in the camera, but there's slack and stuff from the holes that they drilled. So we'll clean those out as we drill our 2 new holes. But they're saying each hole center to center is 10 millimeters. So technically center to center here, we need to go 20 millimeters. So what I'm gonna do is I have this little punch holder. I'm gonna kind of set this up in here. This is gonna give me a way to hold this because I don't have a drill press or anything. And then with our calipers, we're gonna measure 20 millimeters, center to center. So once you got your little mark, you're gonna sit here and you're gonna center mark or center punch it. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a smaller pilot hole. We'll switch that out. We're gonna do one of these step bits. I kind of like these little bits because it will let me kind of fine tune it to that size. All right, once you get one done, move over to the other side, do the same exact thing. And if Justin or Andy is watching, I'm sorry, I don't have a proper machine shop to do all this perfectly. I may do with what I have. All right, so now that I got this all nice and clean, deburred, I even cleaned the inside real good. What we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna get this thing installed inside of our fork tube. So the first step to doing this, you got your, I think it's called the top out spring. I think that's what it's called. It goes on first. Now this is an OEM spring. It's not the one with the kit. Obviously the kit are the shorter ones. You gotta reuse this regardless if you're lowering the bike, raising it, whatever. I bought these brand new through Harley. They still offer them. You just slide it in. And then with a little bit of fork oil, we're going to take this, we're going to drop it into our fork until it comes all the way out the bottom, just like so. So once it's out of the bottom, the next step that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install our bushing. Same thing, a little bit of fork lube. We're going to put our little cap down here at the bottom, and we're going to take this and we're going to slide it into our fork. That should go all the way in, but we're going to get this thing, we're going to see if it catches that damper rod. Yes, it caught it. All right, one of the tricks I've seen some people do on this point is you can take your factory spring here. You can kind of drop it in, spacer. Let's see if I can get it in a spot where the camera will pick it up. And with putting pressure against the tube, you should be able to get a good tightness on it. Now we're going to retorque this. It's pretty tight. It's got a copper washer on it, so it's sealed up. But we're going to retorque it once we get the whole thing assembled. So everything moves like it should. So we're going to take this back apart. At this point, we can go ahead and start assembling our actual fork tube. So the very first thing that's got to go on, kind of the fork tube bushing itself, you'll see that the bushing is on the inside of it. A little bit of fork oil, kind of on both sides, honestly, help it get on there. It's going to slide in. You're going to take your washer, you let it slide on. And then I mentioned it earlier when I was doing it, but if you don't have an actual fork tube seal drive or whatever, these things right here actually work pretty good. It's an 1.5 inch diameter PVC pipe. fits over this perfectly, and it can act like a kind of a slide hammer. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna punch this down until that bushing is flat inside where it kind of recesses. So the washer off, look, a couple more hits. All right, nice. So that's bushing's down in there deep. Seal washer back on. And then the same thing. We're gonna push the seal in with that same PVC pipe. Put a little bit of kind of lube on the tube itself. Make sure that the open part is down towards the bottom and that the words and kind of everything for the actual seal itself is up on the top. It's got a bevel way of that it seals, and that's kind of the only way it's going to do its job correctly. So same thing, kind of. Now there's a little lip inside there that holds that little clip, and we're just trying to make sure we get it to where that clip is all the way down. Oh yeah. It clips all the way down in there. We're going to put our kind of dust seal on there as well. Just a little bit of lube, nothing crazy. I just get it in there until it's nice and flush. Alright, we can go ahead and put our little decorative cap on as well while we're at it. Now this, you got to make sure it goes on nice and straight. You don't want it to scratch against your fork tube. Get it on there. Alright, so that right there pretty much sets up our fork leg to being assembled. Got the tube in there. We got our damper rod in there. We got our little cap, little attachment cap, the screw in, our top out spring. We got another bushing, our seal washer, actual seal itself, clip, dust seal, and then this nice cap. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to go ahead and start building the inside. Now for the inside, this is where the gold valves comes in. I have already taken the liberty of setting this preload the way that they recommended. When you order this setup, you'll give them your weight, your motorcycle, the type of ride you do, all that kind of stuff, and they'll tell you, you know, what color spring they use, how many turns this should be, if you should use because they come with different, whatever you want to call these, like little valve holes or whatever. They'll tell you if you need holes or not. If you ever need to adjust it, you simply can just pull it apart enough to get this thing out, do your little tweaks and everything, because the majority of your ride ability, comfort, firmness, whatever you want your ride to set up like, is going to come from this. This does a little bit on the sense of a preload towards the top, but most of your everything is going to be working from this little guy. So we're going to get this in real quick. Take a little set of mechanical fingers. Just drop it in there. Make sure it's all nice and flush. Now this is where we start putting fork oil in it. So with the oil, it's got a recommendation of a height, not so much of a quantity. You know, when you look at Harley, and it will tell you, I think like a FXDX is like 14 ounces. You know, a stock FXR was like 11 or 12 ounces. That's not the case on here. What they want you to do is they want you to bleed the system, get all the air bubbles out. So you're going to kind of do this. Once you get some oil in there, you're going to bleed everything out. Once it's bled out, you're going to measure with this shock or with this fork tube as far down as it will go. You're going to measure the level, and you want 150 millimeters from the top of this to where the level of fluid is without this spring inside. Then you can drop your spring in there, slide this up, start assembling, and we'll show you how that goes. But first things first, start putting a little bit of fluid in. Roughly, so I got about 16 ounces in here. It shouldn't take all 16 ounces. So what we're going to do is we're going to start pouring it in, about 10 ounces or so. I'm going to bleed it through the system, put another couple ounces in it, bleed it some more. Keep doing that, and then I'm going to start measuring. Once I get to about the 13, 14 ounce mount, I'm going to start measuring and seeing where I'm at with the actual fluid itself. So I put about, about 5 or so in there. We'll go ahead and start running it through. You'll hear the bubbles. You don't want to do it fast because you're not trying to create bubbles. You're just trying to gently bleed it out. So it's about 11 right now. And you'll feel it getting a little tighter because that fluid now actually has to go through that valve. So I'm actually gonna set this a little deeper than 150. And once I see some fluid on the tip of this, I know I'm at my mark. So I still don't have no fluid on the end of that. So I need to put a little bit more in. Okay, so you see how I got a little bit right there on the tip? I know that I'm coming up on my 150. All right, perfect. So now that this is all set, what we're gonna do is we're gonna measure for the preload itself with the spring and our spacer and everything, and I'll show you how to do that. So sit tight. All right, so there's a couple different ways that you can measure your preload or what they want you to start off with. One thing I got is I have adjustable preload adjusters. So I can get it kind of within a closeness, and I'll show you what I did on the other one as far as getting this. Let me take these stupid glasses off. I don't know why I'm still wearing them. I'll show you what I did to get the other one within reason, and then I have what they call preload adjusters that I can actually kind of fine tune it if need be. All the way out until this little C-clip is flush with the actual adjuster itself, or the adjuster housing, I guess. Now what this thing calls for, I think it was like 45 millimeters of total preload. You're just gonna drop your spring in. You're gonna lift this all the way up. Now we have a fresh PVC pipe here that did not come with a kit that we're gonna use for our preload measurement. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of measure, put this thing all the way up at the top, measure where I'm at. That's where I want the top to be. And I need 45 millimeters of preload. The preload is the amount of distance from the top of the clamp here to the top of this. So I need 45 millimeters of distance there. So I know that this cap right now is, total cap appears to be 30. So we got 30 millimeters. Now I'm gonna have to use one washer and this spacer that goes underneath this that pushes against our PVC pipe. So these two together, about 4.5. So we're at 34.5, which means I need roughly 10 millimeters above this line. Let's measure 10 millimeters above that line. Like I said, none of this is kind of accurate. I know I'm not a machine shop or a machinist. I'm just a guy in his garage that hangs out with a bunch of guys that do machine work. So we're gonna set my little pipe cutter right there on the 10 millimeter line. Boom. So you just kind of roll it across, just kind of spin this a few times like this, tighten it a little bit more. We got it cleaned up, nice cut. All right, so one thing I forgot I did on the last tube is I actually cut that distance that it sticks out in half. Since I am running preload adjusters, I didn't want to set it to the perfect preload that RaceTech recommended with this thing topped all the way out. I wanted to be able to, if I needed to soften it or tighten it, I wanted to be kind of in the middle. So it's actually only 5 millimeters difference, which also makes it easier to put together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sit this on here, put my adjuster inside my 1-inch socket, and then I'm just gonna gently and then I'll tighten it up more once it's actually on the bike. And as you can see, everything looks good. Bada bing. 2/4 tube. These will be all nice and polished again once I get it back on the bike. So next step, let's get the triple tree on the bike. Let's slide these in there and let's call it a day. All right. So I've already greased the bearings, kind of packed them in. There's kind of more or less plenty of videos on how to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide this in. I've also cleaned and greased my races that are inside the neck here. You just kind of slide this through. Top bearing in, dust cap on. And then we're going to put our top tree on. Then we're going to put our jam nut in here. And the proper way to set this is to kind of do that fallout. Since I'm not going to have the front wheel and the brakes and all that stuff on here just yet, what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of get this into a nice position with the 4 tubes installed. And then we'll worry about the actual kind of fallout of everything. Woo, you know what I just noticed? I don't know if I'm going to get these 4 tubes in. These things are a bit longer than I anticipated. Let's get this thing hanging off the edge of this lift. All right. Now we're just gonna get this a little snug just to hold it for now. I'm gonna get the other side on, and then we'll kind of put this in the proper position that it needs to be at. All right, now let's get the frame back. So what we need to do now is we need to measure this distance. I'm gonna, because these are a little bit longer than I wanted, I only wanted like 2 inches over, and I think these are like 2.5 almost through Drag Specialty. I'm gonna set this gap from the top of this to here almost at a 1/2 inch. So probably somewhere in like the, if we're using millimeters, we'll say I think 26 millimeters is an inch, so somewhere maybe in the 13 range that I'm gonna set this. And then if I need the front end to be a little taller, I can always lower it through. I'm only gonna torque these. Reason being is this has still gotta stay loose for when we do our fallout. So I'm gonna torque these down and the fork tubes will be in place. So the measurement will be accurate there. These will be torqued. Once we get the wheel and the fender and all that stuff on, then we will set our front end, our fallout and everything, torque our stem, torque these, we'll be good to go. So let's measure this, get a torque wrench on this, and we'll be done for the day. I think the manual said between 30 to 35 foot-pounds. So there you have it. 2 over fork tubes, dual brakes. Pretty straightforward. Like I said, it was a bunch of aftermarket parts, so just be cautious. Make sure you clean everything really well. Keeping everything kind of lubed as you're assembling it too makes everything glide a little easier, keeps the seal from pinching up. I think the next video, all my stuff did come back from powder coat. I'm super excited about it. So we're gonna get the back end on the bike. I think the next time you see it, I might go ahead and have the front wheel on here, put the jack on the actual back side of the bike, and then we'll get the transmission, the swing arm. We got those bare knuckle bearings going in the swing arm. So I'll take them over to Justin, show you how those get installed, and motor. So once the motor gets in, then we start putting all the tins back on, the seat, which thanks again, Saddle Women's, that seat looks super, super sick. I'm very, very excited about that. And then January marks our 1 year for this channel. So we hit our 1 year, I think towards the end of January. I gotta look up the exact date, but I think it's like the 22nd of January. Justin wants to do a big, big, big giveaway. Like probably the biggest giveaway I've really seen anyone do that doesn't cost anything to enter. So definitely stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for this and Hudson's bike. We're getting started on it. We gotta go out to Virginia, pick the loaner, donor, motor frame, everything up for it. But that bike's gonna be super sick. Either way, cutting off. Y'all take care. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.